Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 16th of October, now it's 20 past 10 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, but before I start, let me make a little announcement. This morning one of the members of our community did write to me that some individuals are using my photo and fake accounts and contacting members of our community in private messaging, and I want to make sure that everyone, all of you are informed. I did mention this several times before, but I will repeat this, that I never ever send any private messages to anybody, ever. So if you will receive any message from account that uses my photo, I knew straight away that this is scammer and block it, or let me know about that account and I will block it straight away. And you can also notify platform in which you will receive such a message. Unfortunately, internet is full of scammers. They are using any opportunity to scam people, so be careful, please. Be careful, and always remember that I never ever send any private messages to anybody. It's never happened and will never happen. That's been said, and this is very, very important, by the way, because internet unfortunately is becoming main direction of this activity of this scammer criminal individuals. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with the Ukrainian special military operation. Short summary of the situation on the battlefield. According to reports from Russian media and Russian language pages, no groundbreaking changes on any of the sectors of the front line. It's the usual stuff: artillery duels between the sides, reckoning force operations with all along the front line, with just a few exceptions, drone wars, of course. And when it comes to exceptions, it's Avdiivka nowadays, Avdiivka and surrounding areas. Russian armed forces are continuing offensive operations, but speed of offensive did slow down a little bit since Russian side established full fire control over the roads that are connecting Avdiivka with the rest of the territory, which is under control of Kiev regime. And I guess from now on, Russian side will begin use of Avdiivka as a trap, like it did during the Bakhmut operation. But rest of the front, mainly it's no significant changes. It's artillery duels, nothing in the scale that will influence overall situation on not just on in the front, but even on the individual sector of the front line. During the previous night, Russian armed forces conducted yet another drone and missile strikes on logistical and military infrastructure of Zelensky's regime in several directions. And according to reports, main target of this strike was airfields and last remnants of Ukrainian Air Force. During the day, Russian Defense Ministry will probably share with us additional information, maybe even video footage of these strikes, and of course I will share this additional news on my Telegram or in the second updates. And when it comes to second update, today I will have one for Patreon community a little bit late in the afternoon, and I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media, and also I will summarize previous week, because unfortunately I was unable to make this program Informal Talk for Patreon yesterday because of the live stream, and probably I have to make some changes in schedule, and I will make this Informal Talk programs for Patreon on Mondays, and I will summarize previous week on Mondays, because Sundays I will probably have a live stream. And yesterday I did have a live stream, and this friendly chat with members of our community in real time went pretty well. Live stream was quite long, and the last 15-20 minutes I was getting little tired, and I was hardly able to construct sentences fast enough. After long day, it happens, but overall live stream went quite okay, and I'm grateful to everyone who find the time to participate in the conversation. If you are interested, by the way, you can see live stream on main page. This one here, it already has 2,400 views, more than any other live stream, with exception of interview with Alex Christoforou and Alex Mercouris, which has already 38,000 views. Well, that's been said, let's talk about some other reports from Russian media, and RIA Novosti is reporting here that according to Ukrainian media, in several regions, including Poltava, Kirovograd, Dnipropetrovsk, also Zhytomyr, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, explosions were heard during the previous night. This is results of Russian missile and drone strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of Kiev regime, mainly on airfields and warehouses where Ukrainian side is hiding military equipment and munition. Also, by the way, RT is reporting that all eligible Ukrainians told to report to conscription offices. Some new wave of mobilization is taking place in Ukraine. And let me read several sentences for you. All Ukrainians labeled for military service should attend local enlistment of offices for an inspection of the documents. A spokesman for the country's ground forces has recommended. Vladimir Fitio made the remark on Saturday live on Ukrainian TV state-controlled broadcasting marathon, which has been running during the conflict with Russia. Now, I would like to remind everyone that the duty to defend their country is ingrained in the constitution of Ukraine, and in order to be ready to fulfill one's duty to protect Ukraine, one must come to territorial recruitment and social support centers, enlistment offices, to update credentials, Fitio stated. So basically what is happening, by the way, it's not just a full-scale mobilization in Ukraine itself. As I reported a few weeks ago, based on statements of former aide of two Ukrainian presidents, I cannot remember surname of that individual now, but he did, and also, by the way, former Prime Minister of Ukraine did spoke about it, that Ukraine has now about 20 to 23 million people, citizens inside Ukraine, and potential for mobilization it's only 3 million, and from this 3 million, majority was already mobilized, sent to front, and significant number was as a result of participating in hostilities, significant number was killed or wounded. And if Kyiv regime will start now sending to the front or forcefully mobilizing people that are left in the Ukraine, then infrastructure of Ukraine will begin to collapse, because these individuals that are eligible for military service are working in strategic sectors of Ukraine's so-called economy: energy sector, transportation sector, police, and so on. So these people hardly can be mobilized, and Kyiv regime of course knows this, and with these new steps from Kyiv, what they are trying to do is creating a legal basis to open criminal cases against all citizens of Ukraine that did not went to this enlistment office. And in this case, of course, first of all, we are talking about Ukrainian refugees in in Western Europe. Ukrainian refugees in the Western Europe. And as we remember, several states, Czech Republic, if I'm not mistaken, Slovakia, several other states, and even Brussels did spoke about possibility that Ukrainian refugees can be deported into Ukraine if there is criminal case against them. So that's what basically Kiev regime does now. Creates a legal basis to demand from Europe these military age refugees to be deported into Ukraine so that they will be forcefully mobilized and sent to the front. That's all it is, by the way, because in Ukraine itself there is not that many people left that Kiev regime really can mobilize. And that's been said, by the way, I want to also share with you this information that according to decisions of Russian government, Ukrainian citizens will be able to enter Russia from today, by the way, only through two points, only through two checkpoints or border crossings, let's say. One is in Pskov region, it's Ludonka border crossing, and second is Moscow Sheremetyevo airport. All other ways will be shut down from today for citizens of Ukraine to enter Russia. And this decision, by the way, in my understanding, are closely related to Kiev's policies and Kiev's attempts to somewhat force Brussels and European states to deport Ukrainian military age refugees. Because of course Moscow knows perfectly well that only safe place for those refugees will be Russia, to be sure that they would not be sent to Ukraine to fight. And it's quite possible, as I said quite a few times before, that some waves may occur of Ukrainian refugees from Western states to Russia. And I guess Moscow wants to have full control or as control as possible over these waves, so that now only two border crossings are available for Ukrainian citizens to enter Russia. One, I will repeat, because maybe Ukrainian citizens are watching from Europe also, so they will know that if they want to enter Russia and avoid deportation to Ukraine and forceful mobilization, they can enter Russia in Pskovsk region. It's a Ludonka border crossing, or they can fly to Sheremetyevo. That's it. And of course I will monitor information about all this development, and I will share with you additional information whenever it will be available. So RT is reporting also that, well, finance minister of Ukraine is not really happy man these days, and he is complaining that West is tired of Ukraine. And let me read several sentences of statements of this individual. Securing financial support is becoming more difficult for Kiev as the country's Western backers shift their focus to domestic matters and geopolitical tensions, the Ukrainian finance minister told Reuters on Saturday. Speaking on the sidelines of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank meetings in the Marrakesh, in Morocco, Sergei Marchenko said Kiev is having to make twice the effort right now to convince partners to provide with support compared to the last annual meeting that did take place during the previous spring. And well, this was quite expectable development, and I was saying for quite a while now that Western so-called elites are beginning to create ground for distancing themselves from Kiev regime. I don't know why these officials in Kiev are surprised. Maybe they should think a little better if they are capable of, and analyze situation. But anyway, from now on, by the way, Western so-called elites will just increase distance between them and the Kiev regime, and then certain point, when time is right, they will completely cut off all the ties with the current regime in Ukraine. And this will happen, I'm quite sure this will happen when some members of NATO that are bordering Ukraine will begin to establish control over the western regions of that failed state. But anyway, let's continue. TASS News Agency is reporting that Biden's administration is combining financial aid now, financial and military aid now for Ukraine with the Israeli aid and some other means, because, well, it's becoming increasingly difficult, I guess, for Biden's administration and for US so-called leadership in general to justify all those spendings to on Kiev regime. And as presidential elections are closing in the US, of course, White House will become little more cautious, because according to social studies in US, significant number of US citizens are increasingly wary about this multi-billion spendings of Biden's White House on other countries, including Ukraine. And well, it seems like only way now to receive from lawmakers, Congress, let's say, any funds, is to combine this Ukrainian support with the Israeli support. And when it comes to Israel, of course, this state has full support of US Congress, Senate, US ruling class and elites. We all know this. And this way, of course, White House will be able to send additional several million dollars to Kiev regime. But if you notice, and of course you did notice, we are no longer talking about some 25 billion for Kiev regime, 100 billion for Kiev regime. If you remember, just recently Biden's administration did come up with such crazy idea to ask for 100 billion US lawmakers once, and kind of finished with this topic of financing Ukraine. Now we are talking about only some several hundred millions, and at some point, as I said, by the way, at some point these sums will be zero. That's only a matter of time. As I said, I'm quite sure Ukraine, when conflict will end, Ukraine as a state will no longer exist on political map. Western regions will become under control of Poland, Hungary, Romania, possibly Slovakia. And of course, some other NATO members will participate in this operation. And the rest of the Ukraine will be under full Russian control. And that's 99% of what will happen. And I will leave just 1%, just a slight chance that Kiev and surrounding areas may remain as a quasi-state, quasi-independent state under the name of Ukraine, although I don't see any reason why Moscow will agree on such a development. Because of course that quasi-state will always be used by West against Russia, and I don't see any logical reasoning why Moscow will agree on such a development. But anyway, let me continue. TASS News Agency is reporting that Putin did spoke about conflict in Ukraine. Putin did spoke about possibility of confrontation between Russia and the West, and he said that when it comes to Ukrainian counteroffensive failed miserably, which is factual true, really, and there is no more counteroffensive, by the way. That's why I was calling it so-called for quite a few months now. And same time, Putin said that Russian forces are improving their positions all along the front line, which is also factual true. And he spoke about risks of confrontation between West and Russia, and he said that if Russia don't want to end up in such confrontation, which is also factual proof, and Putin's policies, cautiousness of Putin definitely demonstrates that not him, not top leadership of Russia are not interested in further escalation with the West, exactly because of the risks that this escalation may provoke some full-scale confrontation between the nuclear powers, and that will be end of the world, of course. But Putin also said same time that, well, even though Russia don't want such confrontation to happen, Russia is ready for any possible development, and everyone should know, especially in the West, that if they will enter direct confrontation with Russia, I mean, Western elites, first of all, should know that if they will enter in direct confrontation with Russia, then that conflict will be very different from special military operation, which is obvious, by the way. And this is, in my understanding, one more warning from Moscow to the Western elites to kind of think again about their further steps, because no matter how cautious or how patient Putin is, at some point probably he will say, you know what, enough is enough, and let's show these idiots some force, because it seems like they don't understand any other language, and they will show, and Putin and his government will show force to Western so-called elites. So to avoid such development, of course, it will be good for everybody if Western elites will, so-called elites, will think twice about their further steps when it comes to relationship with Russia. And dear friends, before I can, next topic is of course Middle East and developments around the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. But before I continue, let me remind you that this project with several channels, including this one on YouTube, Rumble, and Telegram, exists solely thanks to support of members of our community, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in description box or in the pinned comment. This project is fully subscriber funded, which is best guarantees that project will stay independent always. And let me continue now with the additional news. TASS news agency is reporting that according to media reports, in this case Al Arabiya TV station, a ceasefire was declared for 5 hours on the southern parts of Gaza, on the southern parts of Gaza Strip. Although by the way, I did read some additional reports where some Israeli officials were stating that there is no ceasefire on any of the parts of Gaza Strip, and no humanitarian convoys will be allowed to enter Gaza Strip. So it's difficult to know what is really going on in the region right now, but I think news is interesting, so I will share with you that Al Arabiya TV station is reporting that some 5 hours ceasefire was declared on southern sectors of the front line. Overall, by the way, probably we all notice little decrease in activities of the sites on the line of contact, but that may be calm before the storm, because Israeli officials are continuously stating that ground operation will take place and it's inevitable. Tel Aviv, or leadership of Israel is waiting for something. For example, RT is reporting here that based on an article in New York Times that Israel postpones ground operation in Gaza. And according to this report, the offensive has been planned for the weekend, previous weekend, but was rescheduled due to adverse weather conditions. Well, newspaper claims, I mean New York Times, of course this is false information. No significant changes in weather conditions in Middle East ever, by the way. Middle East probably has more stable weather conditions from rest of the, in comparison to rest of the world, but this is just justification of absence of this ground operation after so many statements from Benjamin Netanyahu and other the so-called leaders of Israel. I guess they are waiting for something. Maybe they are waiting before US will deploy all its forces that are planned to the Middle East, right next to Israel. Maybe they are waiting some other NATO member states to also deploy additional forces for whatever reason. And question is why? Why they need such force against Hamas? It's illogical, isn't it? And well, I did share my take on this situation. I would not be surprised if Western so-called elites will use this conflict between Palestine and Israel to provoke regional conflict against Hezbollah first and then Iran, or maybe even directly against Iran, because two aircraft carrier striking groups, additional air force and expeditionary corpus of US Marines that will be deployed in Middle East. I mean, that is too much for deterrence, isn't it? So maybe something bigger have been in preparations. Who knows? But we will learn about it in upcoming days. But at least for now, seems like official position or quasi-official position of Israel is that the ground operation did not take place because of some weather condition, which just don't sound right. I watch and I do share videos from Gaza Strip on daily basis and Israel, and there is no significant changes in weather conditions. It's not snowing, by the way, isn't it? But anyway, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that IDF made a statement that Hamas has about 155 hostages in Gaza Strip in their hands. And by the way, I remind you that during the previous days, Hamas officials were stating almost every single day that as a result of Israeli strikes, hostages were also killed. And at this point, it's almost impossible to know how many hostages Hamas really has and how many of them died from hands of Hamas and how many of them died from Israeli airstrikes. Let's continue. And well, according to, this is RIA Novosti's report, by the way, according to UN's estimates, from northern parts of Gaza Strip already have been evacuated 600,000 Palestinians, and this is also reported by TV channel I-24 News. And well, it's not just a UN, but it's IDF. This report is based also on IDF's reports. I remind you that several days ago, Israeli government demanded from Palestinians in the northern Gaza Strip to flee towards south, and basically by this step, Israel ordered more than 1 million people to left their homes and go refugee. And according to reported, I just shared, 600,000, approximately 600,000 people were forced to do exactly that, to flee their homes. TASS news agency is reporting that President of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, did make statement that he is ready to participate in peace talks between Palestine and Israel. Not just President of Egypt, but also Russian side made statements that Russia is ready to participate in peace talks. Many other states, by the way, many other states did come up with such statements. But at this point, I think Israeli government and Western backers of Israeli government, Washington and London primarily, will probably deny any peace talks whatsoever, because they have some different plans for Gaza Strip and for entire region. After all, we should remember that Netanyahu himself did made a statement recently that Israeli answer will change entire region, and I'm afraid he was correct. Maybe he said something that he should not say, but you know, he knows what will happen, and he was just not cautious enough, and he did reveal scale that this Israeli operation will take place. And when it comes to Gaza Strip, by the way, you know my reading of big picture in this regard. I think Israeli government will try to implement Karabakh scenario on Gaza Strip, and all the Palestinians, vast majority of Palestinians, will be forced to flee Gaza Strip, and that region will be reintegrated or integrated. That's a correct word. Will be integrated into Israel. That's how Netanyahu probably wants to deal with the resistance in Gaza Strip. And when it comes to region, of course, this will be earthquake for region, because many countries, by the way, around Israel will be forced to back down. No third party will get involved in this crime against humanity that Israeli government will commit, already committing, and will continue to commit. And this new reality, when regions of Middle East were forced to back down and do nothing, of course, this will create some tensions inside these countries, between their countries, and region will probably definitely change. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, and by the way, there are, as I said, there are possibility that Washington and London will use this confrontation, Palestinian-Israeli confrontation, to provoke wider conflict in the region with against Iran, basically. And main reason for this, when it comes to Washington and London and their interests, will be to cut off navigation, to distract navigation in Persian Gulf, because they know perfectly well main recipient of energy sources from Middle East, which goes mainly from Persian Gulf, is China. So they will strike not just Iran, by the way, and not just the entire region of Middle East, but they will strike China. And force China to looking for additional sources of energy, and where they're gonna find it? In Russia, of course. And they will force China to increase its dependence on Russian supplies of energy to a supercritical level. But let's hope no third parties will get involved in this confrontation, and there will be no large-scale regional war. But anyway, we have RIA Novosti's report here from official representative of Iran in UN who said that Iran will not get involved in confrontation between Israel and Palestine unless Iran is attacked itself. So this is a clear message from Tehran that Iran is staying out of this confrontation. Yesterday, by the way, there were confusion in the media sphere because there were different statements made, and some statements could be seen as a warning from Iran that if Israel will conduct ground operation in Gaza, Iran will get involved. And well, media get nervous about it, and probably everyone did get nervous about it. And then later on we had this statement from official representative of Iran in the UN that Tehran has no plans to get involved in this confrontation between Palestine and Israel unless Israel will attack or any other country will attack Iran. So that's quite clear now that Iran is staying out of this, and every other party, by the way, will stay out of this confrontation between Israel and Palestine, as I predicted from beginning. There may be some skirmishes, let's say, between, and there are some skirmishes between Israeli forces and Hezbollah, for example, in Lebanon, which is here, by the way, that's Lebanon. And there always are some borderline skirmishes between the sides. But when it comes to full-scale involvement of Hezbollah in this conflict, I said from the beginning that I don't see it happening, and at this point we don't have any indicators that Hezbollah or Syria, by the way, or Jordan or Egypt or Iran, by the way, which is a little bit far from Israel, will get involved, or any other country in this region, by the way. That's why I said that this development, that basically these regional countries were forced to back down, will create some tensions inside these countries and between the countries that it's hard to predict will provoke what and when. Anyway, let's continue some other topics now, and RT is reporting that according to statements of Foreign Minister of Hungary, Budapest will stick to agreements with Russia in the energy sphere despite Ukraine-related sanctions and pressure from the EU. Peter Szijjártó told RT on during the interview, Foreign Minister of Hungary, and well, what can I say? I can only applaud government of Hungary for their courage, by the way, because they are standing their position and are trying as much as they can, that's my understanding at least, to withstand this pressure from Brussels, from other capitals of EU, and from the Western so-called elites in general. And they are quite successful, let's be clear about it. So, well, Hungarian citizens are lucky that they have a government that prioritizes interests of Hungary's citizens and Hungary, which is so much rare occasion when we are talking about EU member states nowadays. And also RIA Novosti is reporting that some exit polls probably at this point we already probably have some official numbers also about these parliamentary elections in Poland. I just did not find this updated information, but according to exit polls, by the way, opposition parties did gain so much support of voters that if they are united, they will change government and they will have more than 50% in the parliament. Well, will they manage to unite and change government? That's a big question. And also question is, will this possible change of government have any influence on foreign policy of Poland? And here I have some doubts. I don't think Polish foreign policy will undergo any significant changes, really. It don't really matter which party is in ruling in the Poland. Entire Polish elite is basically vast majority are directly or indirectly controlled by Washington and London. They are Russophobes, extreme Russophobes, and they will act accordingly. So nothing will change in Polish foreign policy in any ways. So let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, yesterday raised the flag of Azerbaijan in Khankendi. That's Azerbaijani name for Stepanakert, former capital of Nagorno-Karabakh, unrecognized republic, or Artsakh. And well, now it's only a matter of time when Nagorno-Karabakh will get fully reintegrated in Azerbaijan. And well, unfortunately, vast majority of local Armenian residents that were living there for generations and generations were forced to flee that region. But that's the reality. That's the reality. But at the same time, by the way, I always highlight that Azerbaijani government officially did promise and stated many times that human rights or basic rights of Armenian residents of Karabakh will be protected. Aliyev himself did make such statement quite a few times, but because of mistrust between the sides, it's quite understandable that vast majority of local Armenians made decision to flee Karabakh. TASS news agency is reporting that Kremlin is expecting that during their One Belt One Road conference in Beijing, which will take place on 17th, 18th of October, if I'm not mistaken, Putin, President of Russia, Putin, and leader of China, Xi Jinping, will have a tete-a-tete meeting, which is possibility, of course. After all, Moscow and Beijing are forced to be strategic allies in modern world, and I don't see a reason why such a meeting should not take place. It will take place, and two leaders will definitely have many topics to discuss. And by the way, I will end this update on this quite interesting news. RT is reporting that Baltic States become Russia's largest wine suppliers, according to media reports. In this case, RIA Novosti did report about it, which is quite interesting, isn't it? Because Lithuania, for example, or Latvia or Estonia was never known in Soviet Union or ever in history as a wine producer nations. But that's what parallel import does, man. That's a business. They are using this place in EU, and they are using their still somewhat open trade relationship with Russia to re-export some goods from other EU member states. And they are making money on this. And well, okay, that's business, by the way. I can say nothing. But fact itself is interesting, isn't it? So let me read several sentences to you. Lithuania has emerged as Russia's largest wine supplier in the first 8 months of 2023, RIA Novosti news agency reported on Sunday, citing UN Comtrade database of international trade statistics. According to report, from January to August this year, Lithuania exported $126 million worth of wine to Russia, a 20.6% increase from last year's figures. Georgia, by the way, which is well known as a wine producing country and nation for thousands of years. Georgia is in second place, unfortunately, with 112.1 million, or 19.4%. And another Baltic state, Latvia, closed up to the top 3 with 79 million export, with export of wines for 79 million dollars, which is 18.5%. Well, which is, you know, increase in trade for 18.5%. And well, good for Baltic states. What can I say, by the way? I'm all for trade relationships between the countries. I cannot criticize Baltic states for using the opportunities to re-export wine or any other product from other states to Russia. But of course, I would like to see Georgia on top, obvious, because I'm originally from Georgia, and Georgia is definitely a winemaker historically, and it will be just right. But at this point, well, Baltic states are, at least Lithuania, are doing a little better. That's quite interesting news, isn't it? And I will end this update for now. By the way, it's still 47 minutes. Unbelievable, man. I was thinking I did cut time on summary of the situation on the Ukrainian battlefield, and I was thinking maybe this update will be like 35 minutes because of it, but no, it's still 47 minutes. Anyway, hopefully you will find this update interesting, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on. That's supposed to help me reach wider audience and somehow deal with this extremely aggressive YouTube's algorithm. And if you think this channel is interesting, useful, and deserves to exist, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which, by the way, I do try to upload some extra content on regular basis. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. Well, this is it for now. I wish you a great day and successful new week. Rest of the interesting updates I will share on my Telegram and in next updates. So this is it for now. Take care and bye for now.